Hey guys, I'm super excited for this next story. I honestly think this is going to be one of the creepiest ones that I ever write. There are a few connections from other stories if you follow my other material, from Madam Regina into the Crystal Ball, Legacy, Haunted Antique Shop, Caleb, the greatest warlock that ever lived, Robert Davidson, the other man, to Kalisha Stephens' Cocos Secret, to Sebastian from the couple's counselor, and Officer Stevens from removing the Do Not Disturb sign. Intervening all these favorite characters for this masterpiece. This mentions supernatural possession, mental illness, and other topics. This is about a man that was possessed as a boy because of a Ouija board he and his friends were playing with. When this evil presence entered his body when he was younger, he fell out of a treehouse. And ever since then, he was diagnosed with DID, multiple personality disorder. However, someone who falls for the shell realizes that there's something not right and that he might not have a mental illness. There's something more insidious at work here. The Vessel, Episode 11, Drama Before and at the Funeral, Part 2. This episode picks up exactly where the last one left off at, when Sebastian answers the door, expecting it to be the limo driver to take them to the cemetery for the funeral and burial. And gets the surprise, Liam, at the door. He has a mix of emotion, including confusion, especially how their last date left off at. But then he remembers what he told him at the table about the multiple personality disorder, which means when he just stormed out of his house, it was probably someone else. In the limo, Sebastian Jr. is occupied with his game on the phone, while Sebastian is actually in his feelings, thinking about his mom's death and about the possibility of this new relationship evolving between him and Liam. There is a mixture of sadness because of his mom and joy because of him in his heart, and it's conflicting. While Liam is looking at both brothers, seeing how they're coping with their mother's death differently, he whispers a comment into Sebastian's ear about Junior putting on a brave face, and this is when he tells him that they were from different mothers. Which made more sense. He apologized for assuming. He then said it's okay. When they get to the gates of the cemetery and the front building, he looks out the window and noticed a lot more people came than he expected. The limo parked, and Sebastian saw someone that he didn't expect to come. It was Levi, his ex. He made a comment as his little brother said, "Oh no, drama," and walked out of the limo. He then explained to Liam very quickly. You could see his nerves were getting to him. Liam grabbed a bottle of water that was at the table in the middle and told him to drink it. He didn't understand why Guy was challenging him with all these things at the same time. Liam reassured him that everything was going to be all right, that he was right there with him by his side. When they got out of the limo, he greeted everyone as they gave them their condolences, and lastly, he encountered Levi with his new boyfriend and Emily, which, if you remember in the couple's counselor, he adopted at the end after Levi and Sebastian broke up. There's a bit of tension between David, Levi's new boyfriend, and Sebastian, only because Levi didn't introduce him, which made him feel like he wasn't important enough to be acknowledged. And then there was the hard grip of the handshake, but Sebastian wasn't even reading into it. He didn't realize what was really going on between them until the priest started reciting the prayer and they were arguing behind him. It took one of Charlotte's Bible study partners to shush them for them to get the point, but even the priest paused. For me, the most interesting scene was when Liam and Sebastian are talking on the stone bench near a tree. The conversation started from his mother, then Junior, and then when things calmed down, maybe they can try again another date. In the middle of the conversation, Levi asks to cut, and Liam turns to face Sebastian to ask him what he wants, and then they switch places. I think this was very symbolic. In order for Sebastian to fully start another chapter, he needs to find closure in the last one. Levi apologizes for brushing him off. He does feel guilty for the way he treated him the last time they talked on the phone, but Sebastian says that he thinks he was actually right. How does he expect him to move on if they keep running back to one another? I think with Levi, he has so many problems with David, as you see the cracks. He's hoping to keep Sebastian on the shelf in case, and using the friend card as an excuse. But Sebastian makes his final decision by letting him know, I think that it's best that we go our own ways. It really is for the best to move on. And at the very end of this episode, when Levi gets into the car, you see the fight between him and his boyfriend getting more serious, even with poor Emily in the back. Stay tuned for the next episode.